Well, hello. Good evening. My name's Dave. Not Dave Kitson. I'm Dave Dawn. But I'm joined tonight by three other... People refer to them as Geordies, but we're not actually Geordies. We're what's known as Northeasterners. There's at least one Mackem amongst us. That would be me. But my partners in crime tonight, I'm going to go in the order of freshness. And we'll start with the freshest of the lot, because he's had 2 days off work. That's Daz. Good evening, Daz. How are you diddling, cock?
Oh, I'm very well. I'm very well, and it's great to be on. And I hope everybody else is well this fine Sunday evening.
That's a marvellous wish for everybody, Daz. Thank you for sharing that. Next in order of freshness, we have the bountiful beautyliciousness, the devilish gorgeousness that is the one and only Sav. Sav, how are you diddling, cock? All right.
I'm absolutely peachy. How's yourself?
Well, I'm what's known in the trade as walking about and breathing how the na's young and bet. But I've left the best till last. Not 'cause she's least fresh, but because she's most experienced. She's me sister from another blister, the one and only Cat. Cat, how are you diddling, pet?
I'm as limp as a 10-day-old lettuce. But
You
other
what?
than that, well, we were talking about freshness. I thought that's about as near as I can get. I'm alright. I hope everybody else is alright as well.
Goodly Goodingtons, that's what we like to hear. Now, you'll probably have gathered by the mere fact that the four of us are sitting here talking that Mr. Kitson isn't. And that's because he's poorly bad in bed with a shawl on, both feet in one sock, waiting for the doctor to come and rub his chest with Vic. But Vic took bad the other day with a broken leg, so he's going to be a while getting there. So Mr. Kitson won't be around tonight, but he will be around, we think, next week. And from all of us, everybody, Dave, if you're watching, get well soon, bunny lad, 'cause you're sorely missed. Not right?
Aye,
Aye.
he's more limper than the lettuce than I am at the
I was,
moment.
indeed, I think he's been ejecting it at a great rate of knots from his oral cavity as well, from what I can gather.
Nice.
Apparently, it's been a bit like a scene from The Exorcist in his bedroom.
Oh, what? His head spinning round.
That wouldn't
I hate to
surprise us.
think what else it could be.
Well, yes,
Let's
you know.
not go there.
No, let's not. And I've now discovered that Leanna Lawless is as colourblind as I am. It's bloody orange.
It is, it's orange.
It's orange. For a day, you see. And that's the last I'm going to mention of that, because I understand there's going to be mention of today's events tomorrow on Andy and Davy's show, and quite honestly, probably on Wednesday as well. So I'm just going to gloss over that. Tonight we're going to talk about now, aren't we?
Not a thing.
Just basically have a conversation about e-cigs, but I want to start, actually, if this is all right with everybody else, with a piece that came out from, and I'll try and get this right and see if I can share it, from Fox News. There it is. The smoke around e-cig science, and I've got to thank Sav for this, because you found it on Facebook, didn't you?
I did indeed.
See, she's clever that way. The smoke around e-cig science. I'm going to read this in an Americanian accent. London. From apple pie to bubbly gum, Irish car bomb or Martian bar. From Mars, the flavours of electronic cigarettes offer something for every taste. Researchers have counted 7,764 varieties of vape. Have they got no better to do than just sit and look at shit like that? Anyway, that adds up to one of many challenges, from practical constraints to conflicts of interest, in working out how safe e-cigs are and whether they help smokers quit. Most scientists agree that e-cigs have potential as a stop-smoking aid. They can be used with or without nicotine, and are free of the thousands of toxins in conventional cigarettes. But e-cigs also throw up some unusual obstacles. Drug firms usually test one treatment against another. With e-cigarettes, the huge variety of constantly evolving products means it would be prohibitively expensive to test every flavour and vaporizer. E-cigs are really the first product I'm aware of that have challenged pharma in this way, said Chris Bullen, an associate professor at the University of Auckland and author of one of 2 randomised trials of e-cigs in a recent major review of the science. I guess many alternative natural products raise similar issues when they start to make health claims. Let's go there straight away. Health claims, natural products. Anybody got any views on that little bit?
No.
Go on the fly.
Well, I mean, we don't make any health claims for these things, do we?
No.
No.
I mean,
Nobody.
no.
Not at all.
We just don't. And I mean, we get accused of making health claims it's not by association, but because the product is used for something that could possibly make you healthier, that must be a health claim. No!
People naturally make claims, but they're nothing to do with e-cigs in particular. It's the whole act of not burning tobacco anymore and feeling better as a consequence to it.
Yeah.
Because we all know,
didn't do anything.
no, we all know that if somebody quits smoking, they've just quit dry, what is it?
Cold turkey.
Dry
Cold
turkey.
turkey,
I was
not-
about
not-
to
Quite
say.
dry
no.
turkey. Yeah.
Not dry
It's the
lettuce or limp
It's
lettuce.
the
No.
lettuce.
I'm
If they
hungry.
quit cold turkey, they get all these horrible things happen as a result of toxins leaving their body. And after that, they feel much better. And it's no different for us. Is it?
Yeah, it's just it's not health claims, it's testimonials.
Pardon?
It's testimonials from the people who are the ones that are telling we.
But, I mean, as Katja said, it's the not smoking that makes you feel better in the long run rather than the actual vaping.
Mm-hmm.
It's the stopping of the intake of toxins.
Yeah, I mean, if I had my leg amputated tomorrow, it would not make me grow a new one.
No.
That would be
So,
really good.
however, we kind of
Do
go...
you- Do you not,
Makes it
do you,
sound like
do you
a
not
woman.
think, though, with all this, do you not think the conversation's being taken away from us a little bit?
Massively taken away from her.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, when's it ever been with her? When have they ever listened to anything we've said?
Well, it's not just that, but it's the way the goalposts keep on shifting. I mean, if you follow Twitter the way I do, you see that the ants, the opposition, if you like, this week they're on formaldehyde gate. But it's not, what is it, about a month, 2 months back, it was Think of the Children time and renormalisation and denormalisation and God knows what. And then a little while before that it was flavours. And then what was it before that?
Well, yeah, because every time they come up with something, we give them an answer that they can't argue, so they go on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
Every time.
Yeah, it's this whole cherry picking thing, isn't it? They cherry pick a particular word and look for something they can wrap around that word.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I tell you what, it gets bloody annoying. I mean, I've heard of single issue organisations, but it's now getting to the stage where every time we debunk something, they move on to something else. This is a never-ending circle of
Correct.
accusations that seem to be coming from those who would oppose e-cigs. And, yeah.
I mean, we're going to go back to Gateway is going to be the next thing, which is where it all started. They're going to go back to that and start again. Gateway, flavours, think of the children. You don't know what's in them. And it just keeps going round.
Mm-hmm.
It's crackers, isn't it?
It is. It's ridiculous.
Sorry. Little, that was, I blame the Diet Coke for that.
Yeah, you should have the full fat stuff, diet
No,
stuff.
Think of the children, for God's sake.
I'm
You don't know what's in it. Gateway.
Gateway to what?
I don't know. Heavy coke use. Ridiculous.
It's a gateway to brandy and coke, like Keith drinks. Yes, that's what it would be. Let's go back to the piece anyway. Somebody did say that Fox News was a bastion of accurate reporting. You might agree with that actually when we get to the end of this. Let's go back and see what it's got to say. Click. So where are we? E-cigarettes can look like ordinary smokes but are metal and plastic battery-powered gadgets that heat flavoured liquids into a cloud which users suck in, then exhale as dense white plumes. Invented in their present form in China about a decade ago, that would be 10 years for anybody that's hard of thinking, e-cigarettes generated $4 billion to $5 billion in sales in 2014, according to Euromonitor, a market research firm. The gadgets themselves come in hundreds of brands and are constantly morphing at the hands of both users and the small-scale distributors who sell them online. That is 100% accurate, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because they are a strange hybrid between smoking, which kills nearly 6 million people a year, and stop smoking medications, e-cigs rival both tobacco and pharma. Interesting. Tobacco companies have responded to that threat by buying up e-cig businesses and are now funding research. Pharma firms have kept their distance. The products have also opened a rift between researchers who see their goal as eliminating nicotine in all its forms and others who believe it makes more sense to reduce the harm of smoking. You've got people who've taken a position and they're looking at the evidence only in relation to the position they've got. David Sweener, an e-cig enthusiast and law professor at the University of Ottawa, told an e-cigarette symposium in London in November. He did. I was there. Now, let's consider where we've got with that little lot. This whole rift between researchers who see their goal as eliminating nicotine in all its forms and others who believe it makes more sense to reduce the harm of smoking. Now, I get on my high horse about this, and I'm going to throw this open to the three of you. We'll start with Kat, Chris. Folks who start with, let's say, they pick up 24 milligram juice, and their aim is to get down to 3 milligram and then off it. What do you make of that? Gradually reducing the nick.
Well, it's up to the individual, but I don't have a problem with nicotine at all. Obviously, being a vapor, I've done my own research on this, and nicotine was never the enemy. It's been cast as the enemy by the ants for some time now, but nicotine itself is being used in medical research for genuine illnesses and to assist with that. So how can we make it the enemy in one argument and the saviour in another? And that's what tends to be happening. And for new users, there are people out there that genuinely want to quit, and that's fine. That's their decision. It was never mine. So I can't really, have any empathy for that, because I've never really thought of it. I'm a home mixer. I mix my own juices 99% of the time. I will buy occasionally if I fancy a flavour somebody's got and see what it's like, And I'll be quite honest with you, I don't measure anything anymore. I know roughly how much I like of nicotine. In my case, it's 18 milligram, and I started with 11, which wasn't quite enough, so I upped it to 18. I've been happy on 18 ever since. But when I mix it myself, it could be anything between 12 and 20. Let's be honest here, because I just sort of dump it in. And it's never done me any harm. I'm never going to join the argument that nicotine is the enemy. It is not the enemy as far as I'm concerned. And if somebody wants to gradually lower it and get down to 6 or 0 even, that's their choice. But I would hope if they got down to something like that, they would just stop using, the whole vaping thing, to be honest, and just quit altogether. For me, that's never going to happen. I'm never going to do that. I'll stick with what I enjoy, and that'll be it for me. So does that cover what you wanted to know?
Yes.
Or
yes,
have I
very
missed
much
your
so.
point completely?
No. No, I think you've covered it lovely, actually, because it pretty much echoes where I am. What interests me though, and I've got no way of seeing as many people as Daz sees, but Daz, do you get lots and lots of folks coming into your shop saying, they want to quit, as in become nicotine abstinent? Do you see many people cutting nick down? What goes on there? Because I know the shop's burgeoning and growing, going from strength to strength. So
Yeah.
what's your experience?
I think, just echoing completely on what Kat's just said, when people come into the shop who are looking at making the switch from smoking to vaping, make a very common mistake in classing vaping as NRT. And the first thing I always do is I make them quite clear that it is not a cessation device, and the actual interpretation is it's a method of switching. However, what I do say to them as well, because nearly every single one that comes in with who wants to make the switch wants to lower the nick. So they'll start off on 18 or 24, depending on how much they smoked, and they want to eventually cut themselves down. Every single person that comes in who is a new vapor always says that. All that I say to them, in light of what Kat's just said, exactly the same. I just tell them that nicotine itself isn't a carcinogen, that the tests that are being carried out is coming back that it's no more harmful than what caffeine is. It's continuously, rigorously tested. It's completely up to them. I tell them that when I first started e-cigs, I started e-cigs with the intention that I didn't want to quit and that I wanted to carry on. So if they feel that it's something that they enjoy and they want to carry on, then that is up to them. But if they feel that they want to cut down and eventually go zero with the intention of coming off it altogether, quit essentially, then again, they can do that. There's no two ways about it. It's up to them what they choose to do. And then it's kind of like some will like go and want to cut down, some won't. Some then change their minds and say, you know what, I'm really enjoying it, and then they'll start off with the other flavors, and then they'll go on a whole different journey. But interestingly enough, getting back to the point, nearly all new starters think exactly the same. Exactly the same. That's the findings that I see day in, day out.
It's interesting. It's extremely interesting, and I say chat's picked up on a lot of what we've been saying, which is good. And I'm sure Sav will bring us up to date with it. At least I hope so. Sorry, Sav, we maybe should have agreed that before the show. Oh, yeah.
They have brought up a very interesting point, though, and I mean, I agree with what Kat was saying, that I've never thought about reducing my nick. I increase my nick, but I do find I vary my nick strength during the day depending on flavour, because certain flavours respond better to a lower nicotine strength, and some respond better to a higher nicotine strength. But the thing that they're bringing up a lot of, and it will reflect on what Daz has just said, is we've got the World Health Organization trying to get nicotine reclassified as a carcinogen next year, or this year.
Yes.
Then that's going to get interesting, because you've got the whole, where does NRT stand? Is this why Big Pharma are backing off from the whole debate?
Actually, that's an interesting point, because I read that statement, if you like, from GSK saying we've decided not to play in that arena. There were two devices that were up for a marketing authorisation from Big Pharma. One from McNeil and one, I understand, from GSK. And they've backed up. They've pulled the applications, apparently. And there are one or two theories going through in chat about why they might be distancing themselves. And it does kind of bring up, back in 2007, 2008, the Royal College of Physicians, which is kind of the parent of ASH, that's where ASH sprang from, and ASH and Cancer Research UK, all three of them, the big three, if you like, had said that there should be a nicotine regulatory authority, that NRT should no longer be a medicine, that this whole thing was a matter of lifestyle and that there should be a regulatory authority that regulates nicotine from gums right the way through to fags, so that it was all taken together as one. Does anybody remember that?
I remember reading something about that, yeah. And it does make you think, because the whole big pharma I'm not going to play thing sets off alarm bells straight away. It just does, because we know that if they got into the market, they could monopolise the market just through money quite easily if they wanted to. And it just sets off alarm bells with them saying, no, we're not going to play. Yeah, we know they're all late to the party because they sat back and watched for a while, but as you say, they had these devices in the oven, and then all of a sudden, no. So
Well,
there's something going on, and it would make perfect sense to have nicotine looked at separately, take it out of this whole equation, and try and separate nicotine from cigarettes, which is what they seem to have the biggest problem doing. So many
Yes.
of these doctors and scientists can't or won't differentiate between tobacco and nicotine.
What was that? Do
Correct.
you remember when we went to the summit, not last year, the year before? Do you remember what was the statistic the set of doctors who thought that nicotine itself was a carcinogen? Was it 65%?
No,
It was
no,
ridiculously
it
high
was-
considering.
it was 38% of UK doctors, medical doctors, MDs, people that, are supposed to cure you. And you wander into a doctor's surgery and present with whatever it happens to be. And 38%, that was the figure, because it's always stuck in my brain, and it was higher than that pan-European. It was over 40% pan-European. But 38% of doctors in the UK thought that nicotine was carcinogenic. And these are the people that I'm shoving the great big blob in my hand under their nose and saying, is that cancer or not? Well, no. Yes.
Yeah.
No. I don't know. If they don't know that nicotine's not carcinogenic, how in God's name are they supposed to fix the rest of you when it all goes wrong?
Yeah, it's absolutely terrifying that amount. And I mean, 38% is, when you put that into actual figures, doctors, that's a huge amount of doctors out there that
more than
don't
a
know what they're
quarter.
talking about.
Yeah, it's more than a quarter of the country when you think about it. It's more than 25%, so that's more than a quarter of the country. It's quite alarming, really, that given the fact that how long nicotine's been around, which is more than hundreds of years, that they still can't quite fathom out.
But it's this whole, they can't separate nicotine from the act of smoking
Yeah.
a cigarette. They just can't.
That's been the major problem, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, bottom line on it
They
is,
must be aware of the research going on, surely.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, people will go, oh, it's because we called them e-cigarettes. Rubbish!
it's got nothing to do with it.
A lame excuse to hand someone, oh, well, it's called an e-cigarette, so it must be a cigarette, therefore it must be toxic. Rubbish!
It is rubbish.
It's just giving them an excuse. They go, oh, I didn't know. No.
Yeah, but by the same token, every doctor, every MD has got to go through, I think it's a 5-year course, that's without any specialties. 5 years they train. During the course of that, they must be told, they would have to have been told over the last 30 years, they must have bounced up and down about smoking, because the outrage from those who are outraged has been so outrageous. So that all of these student doctors must have been told, God knows how many times, about smoking, and they can't have been told about that without they've been told about what actually causes the problems. And given the experience of Sweden, and given the experience of other cultures where nicotine or tobacco has been chewed rather than smoked, and there are isolated pockets around the world where that's the case, and this is part and parcel of how they've drawn all of their bits of data together from all of these anecdotes from these other countries. I thought I'd slip that one in. They must know, they've got to have been taught that nicotine's not a carcinogen. They must have been. So either the idle buggers aren't listening, or they haven't been told. Either way, it's a disgusting situation.
It is, and the one that I find even worse, and we've got I mean, Louise Ross is the perfect example of the stop smoking clinics that do their homework and are telling people the things that they need to know to help. And then you walk into another clinic that goes, oh, you shouldn't use them, e-cigs, they're bad for you, worse for you than cigarettes. And you think, look, you're trying to help people and they don't know their information.
No.
Yeah, it is pretty alarming as well. Like exactly what you said, and I've thought of that many a time. I
And
know.
they've only got one topic that they need to learn. Doctors have got thousands. Stop smoking, they've got one.
Yes.
Come on. I mean,
Yeah, but
as I say, Louise Ross has shown how it can work and how well it can work.
and there have been people in stop smoking services in other parts of the country, not in the northeast, I hasten to add, that have been bad mouthing Louise because they think it's completely wrong, that she should be pragmatic about using e-cigs to stop people from smoking. But Robert West, in the interview that I did with him that we broadcast on Thursday, said all it's about is stopping people or allowing people to stop smoking, to stop lighting tubes of tobacco and inhaling the fumes.
Yep.
And it's just actually coming back to what Daz was saying a little bit earlier there. When we start using the Q word, quit, I think perhaps we need to be pressing to get two levels of understanding here. One, that quit actually means you're just not flicking a lighter and causing flames and lighting stuff. And the other one is to become abstinent. And we need to divorce the word quit from abstinence. That's maybe something that we should talk about after the break, because I've just seen what time it is.
Oh.
And it's after 25, it's stopping by. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll pick up on this and we'll pick up on what's been going on in chat as well, because as you've probably gathered, this is just a natter between four folks that know each other quite well, but we're kind of going to cover some stuff that we think might be of use to an awful lot of folks out there. If you're a newbie, if you're new to e-cigs, there might be a lot of stuff in here that you'll find useful. We're back in 2 minutes and 57 seconds. Don't go anywhere. Press the right button, David. Oh, God.
Vapers, do you love discovering new e-liquids? Tell Dripper the types of flavours you like and they'll send you 5 gourmet juices each month. Experience new and exclusive flavours, all with a money-back guarantee and free delivery anywhere in Europe. Dripper.co.uk.
Joytech UK are proud sponsors of vapetrails.tv.
And we're back in the room. Yes, I've only just realised as well we didn't play the titles in, people.
We got too ranty too quickly.
Too ranty too quickly. I might have to play them in before the second set of adverts. Yeah, so where were we? What were we talking about before the adverts went all horribly wrong for us?
I forget.
Ah, yes.
Carcinogenic.
Yes, it was the difference between quit and become abstinent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think actually for our purposes it's probably easier to use the term switch all the time. But I have noticed that academics are picking up on this, and even those who would oppose us are picking up on it, which is really weird, which was why I said, is the conversation being taken away from us? Because all the way through we've talked about the switch as a further choice, as Robert West put it, another door in the smoke-filled room for people that want to get out. It's a queer one. Maybe we should better go back to the document that we were reading out from abroad, as it were, from Fox News, and see where we've got to go.
Can I bring something up before you do, Dave?
Yeah, of course you can.
The people I feel sorry for, and they're being kind of picked on, other than the smokers out there, are the dual users. The finger's being pointed that these dual users will inevitably go back to cigarettes. And that is not the case. A lot, I would say the majority of dual users that I have seen, and I include myself in that because I was a dual user, will eventually one day just not pick up the cigarette packet again. It just happens. The better the devices are that we use, the more likelihood of them staying tar-free. And that's the word I'm going to use. Tar-free. Because that's the only thing I've given up. Tar.
Well, yes. It's I've always kind of characterised e-cigs as being all of the joy, none of the death. And that's pretty much the case, isn't it, really? It is. All of the joy and none of the death. Dual users, though, I'm going to pose a question for chat here, and please only answer yes. I don't want any no's coming out of this. Answer yes if you just suddenly switched. If you didn't have a day when you were using both, or a week when you were using both. Only if you kind of stopped on Thursday with fags and started on Friday with e-cigs and never had another fag. Please type yes into chat if you did that. Now currently there are 98 online, so we're going to be able to get a percentage out of this. And there's people here that have been vaping for, well, it's nearly 6 years for Captain Sav and me, and there's people that's been 6 days and 6 weeks. So we're going to see now. This will be interesting. I just want the yeses. Anybody that dropped it? Seems to be a lot here. So all of these people were not dual users. They didn't phase in, they didn't pick it up and dual use. That's, wow, that's way more yeses. We've got, there's a well sort of. Wow. That's incredible. Have you got any idea of what the numbers are on that, Sav?
I would say definitely we're getting sort of the 50% mark there, but one thing that we've got to take into account is the length of time you've been vaping, because if you started on a leaky drippy 901 that needed charged every 2 minutes, that wasn't, and as you only buy one because you don't know that it needs charged every 2 minutes, you didn't have a choice but to smoke until your second one arrived.
So is this a difference then between the old stages and the more recent switches?
Yeah, because now you can go and you can get even a basic kit, something like an eye stick. That can last, especially for someone a new vapor, that could last them a couple of days without having to think about charging it.
Yes.
Whereas a 901 could last you a couple of minutes before thinking about charging it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was going to say, because the first day mine arrived, it was a 084. It was the same size and form factor as an ordinary fag, and I think it said charge for 16 hours before use. 16 hours on a 140 milliamp hour battery. Yeah,
Yeah.
it would. Yeah. So yes, it got charged until the little light went out, and then I started using it, and I got precisely 45 minutes out of it. And realised at that point I needed more batteries, so I ordered 10 more batteries, and it wasn't cheap, as you ladies well know. It just wasn't cheap those days to buy batteries. I mean, they were
No.
15 quid each.
I mean, the starter kits that we started on, the kit was 99 quid, give or take.
Hmm.
It was a lot of money back then.
Whereas you can now get a starter kit for 19.99.
Actually, Neil Robinson's just said, DD, ask the opposite question, how many dual used? That's probably going to be as easy. So if you dual used, let's ask the question and let's get the replies. And again, we've got 100, so it'll be an exact percentage, right? If anybody can count. Does get your little clicky thing out that counts.
Okay.
Matt's doing a wonderful job of counting there in Skype. So
Matt's saying
please
we're
do.
looking at the 50% mark.
Excellent, thank you, Matt. Right, those of you that did use, who didn't make it, stopped on Thursday, started e-cigs on Friday and never had another fag, how many of you dual used? Please type in yes, dual used.
'Cause, I mean, I'm guessing it makes the difference if you bought your e-cig with the intention of switching over to using an e-cig. I never did. I bought the e-cigs. I was looking on a car forum and went, hey, I seen a post by Prof Beard, and he linked to a video, and I showed it to Kat and I went, Kat, you see these? And she went, look at them. And I went, oh, we're going to get some of them. That'll be a right laugh. And that was how we ended up with bright pink 901s. Had no intention, never even thought about stopping smoking at that time. No intention at all, so I'm one of the accidentals.
Yeah, I'm an accidental. And it does kind of govern how you think about all of this, doesn't it, really? Because
Yeah, because the more that the industry has progressed, the more chance there is for someone to switch quickly.
Yeah.
For us, it was extremely difficult.
well, I was going to say, I mean, just this Ego one that we looked at on Thursday. If that was the first thing that I'd come across, the battery life in this with that half ohm atomizer in it, which I'd have gone for more power, you know me, that would have got me through easily the best part of a day at that point in time. I'm pretty sure of that, and I probably wouldn't have spent the next 7 or 8 days as I did switching between the two. I do think folks coming into e-cigs now have got it an awful lot easier than we ever had 6 years ago.
They do and they don't, because the devices work so much better, as you say, and the sticking with them is so much easier. But the choice.
Yeah.
We
agree.
had the choice of two. We had the 901 or the Super Mini thing. And the 801 was too expensive. That was really posh. And you weren't allowed that as a starter kit. You had to sacrifice your firstborn before you were allowed a kiss box.
Oh God, yeah.
You see that the timing of that is just completely wrong, given what Neil Robinson's just typed into chat saying his two daughters were accidents. I know that feeling. I broke an arm swerving to avoid a child. I fell out of bed. Yes, where were we? Right.
I mean, I packed in. I stopped using cigarettes after 5 days of the 901, and it was
When the second battery arrived.
yeah. And then I had the battery problems, and then I found I was still craving those morning cigarettes. So I indulged myself, and I went back to having those morning cigarettes. Hence, I'm a dual user, or was. And that went on for quite some time. It was probably about a year of, or maybe it's more, a year and a half of dual using, having 3 fags in the morning, and that was it, But the invention of products and Inikin I have to say, were the products I use. I think, what do they call the MVR?
MVP.
MVP. That was the product that suddenly went, whoa, I'm giving you what you need here. And
I remember the day. I remember the
Yeah.
day because you Skyped us. You were over the moon.
Yeah, I said,
Yeah.
that's it. I finally found something that does it.
Yeah.
You
I've
know,
got to
and
s-
I'd been... Sorry, carry on.
No. You finish what you were going to say because this leads into where I want to go.
Right, well, it was a big thing for me, and you know I'd been trying to get Ron on to e-cigs unsuccessfully because he'd been going out and buying tabs and smoking them like hell in the car before he came in the house, you know, so I wouldn't know about it. Stinking of bloody nicotine when he came in.
Cigarette smoke,
Nicotine.
yeah.
Smoke, not nicotine. And I thought, this will do it for him. This will do it. And I
Oh, that was
remember...
the VTR, not the MVP.
No, the VTR was the one I treated him to, but it was actually the MVP that did
Right.
the trick.
Ah.
And then I bought him the VTR as something special because it looked gorgeous and it was everything that he would have liked.
Well,
And then I bought myself one because I
This-
liked his that much.
you did. This is bringing the point actually because Becky said, and this builds on what everybody's been saying. That's really overwhelming, she says. My ex is drowning in a sea of utter WTF, trying to work out what to buy. So here's a point. I'm going to take a quick set of adverts, and then when we come back, I'm going to ask each of you what you think a really good versatile starter kit would be, and you can combine anything with anything. And chat, if you want to chuck suggestions in as well, let's see if we can find some kind of consensus, because my reckoning is that it was probably easier for Cat and Sav and myself to choose because there was the 901 and there was the 510, and that was about it.
It wasn't even the 510 when we started. That came out 2 weeks after we started. So we had to buy that.
Yes.
2 weeks after we bought the 901.
Well, that's when Shiny 8 is set in for me as well, because there was there was 4 or 5 different models you could have, and I needed to have them
You
all.
could have a white one and a black one, and it got all posh.
All of that. So we'll give that some consideration during the course of the advertisement, and when we come back, well, let's see if we can find what we think might be like the most versatile, and let's try and keep the cost under 60 quid.
Right. Simple.
Right?
One.
So when we come back from the adverts, that's where we're going to go. Back in a couple of ticks, if I've got this worked out right. And oh dear, just click it, David, it's easier.
RY4 Radio.
LP Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and e-liquids. Proud sponsors of vaping entertainment on Vapor Trails TV.
And we're back in the room, and I've just deafened myself, and I've not clicked the right bits. Oh God! Right, there we go. We're doing it a different way tonight. And during the course of the adverts, I have seen about 750,000 different combinations. Are you three the same?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Arkwright. Daz, open all hours there. Come on, what do people ask for when they come into the shop? And let's compare that to what chat's been saying, because I've seen everything from an e-grip to an iStick to one particular, I'm not going to say who it was just in case the X is watching, but it would be a 0.01 ohm coil on the worst bloody battery you could find. Obviously fond of each other. Daz, what do they ask for?
Right, well, this is absolutely honest to God. When they come in, I get asked for a pen and a bottle of oil is what I get asked for.
Good grief.
And going back to your question, we sell, and it's a made-up kit. It's not a kit that you buy ready-made. We actually buy all the stuff separately and put it in, which consists of, this is the most common, it's an Aspire BVC, CE5 Clero, an 1100 Ego, a charger, a case, and a bottle of liquid. That's your traditional starter kit. But I would say the best starter kit, because it would be an iStick with a BVC CE5 and a bottle of juice. But when you show them the iStick, believe it or not, they recoil in terror.
Really?
Yeah. Believe it or not, right, you'll be absolutely honest to God, but when I show them that, they say, that's huge. That is massive. And I'm like, it's not. Seriously, it's not. No, it's too big. I want something small. Customers are so infatuated on size. And you've got to explain to them that the smaller the battery, the less it lasts between charges. And trying to get that over to them is very, very hard. And when you try, I mean, it's interesting because I'm watching chat and seeing what a lot of people in chat are saying. When you try and talk to a newbie about variable voltage, it is way over the head. You have to spend a lot of time explaining to them what a variable voltage is and why it's a variable voltage as opposed to an ordinary ego. They feel much more at ease with an ego because they don't want faff. They don't want faff. What they want is something that works. And, you know, the most that they can get is that they can change a coil on an Aspire. They can get that. But anything over takes a bit more to explain. So I feel a lot more comfortable when they walk out with an ego than walking out with an iStick.
Neil Robinson's just made a lovely point. He said, how big are their fag packets if they think an iStick is huge? And more to the point, a Zippo or I don't know what you call those, you know, the plastic lighters that you get. But I mean, hell's delights, there's not much difference in size between a plastic lighter and an iStick.
It's very true, but they honestly believe. Now, you show them an iStick and they totally relate to it because it's small. But an ordinary run-of-the-mill size iStick, 20 watt, you know, no, they won't entertain it. Literally, size is really important to them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you think, and this is for anybody to jump in, if you know how we keep on occasionally getting bits on telly and what have you, and we see them being used in, I believe it's Benidorm, and there was something else. One of the American shows had somebody vaping in it, but they were using a pen, and it looked like a Bic, a biro with green writing on, black body and green writing on it, but you couldn't identify it.
Mm-hmm.
If you saw people using the likes of iSticks and e-grips and Ego ones and that kind of stuff, do you think that would make a difference to how newbies would view it? They'd kind of look at it and go, actually, that looks quite, I could get away with that. Kat, what do you think?
I think you're spot on, Dave. They've been trained with the e-cig lookalike, because every article you read in the media always shows just a cigarette lookalike, and they've been trained to accept that. And then after that, the second generation devices have sort of come in and have been kind of accepted. The Ego type have been accepted to the more adventurous ones. But Daz is absolutely right, and I can see where these people are coming from and why they would come in and ask for something like that. They're going to find it quite scary. But if they saw more of the smaller devices, and let's face it, that will happen. It just happens that the media are like 6 months behind, and with the speed this industry moves, it's going to take quite a lot of catching up.
Yeah, it's really recent. I saw and it wasn't even in the media, I saw on Facebook the other day, Innigan, on Innigan's own page with Leonardo DiCaprio with an MVP. I think it was either last week or the week before. So, and I've never seen that with the celebrity. I've always seen the celebrities with the looky likeys. Maybe an Ego.
That guy that briefly appeared in Big Brother apparently had some kind of mechanical mod.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, as you say, this time last year it would have been a cigarette. And I mean, this is why I do still see a place in the market for the cigarette type thing, because like a couple of people pointed out in chat, new vapers are embarrassed to vape in public, and they want to hide because it's a whole new experience for them. They're quite happy to smoke, but this is a whole new thing that they don't fully understand yet. And the cigarettes and the small mods help with that step, and then shiny-itis tends to kick in, and it's all downhill from there.
Well, you say
down
downhill.
a lot. It's down a lot to the bricks and mortar, especially there, to educate people. Because when they go away and they find that their little ego needs recharging, they'll be, as often as it does, they'll be thinking, maybe I do need something else. Because let's face it, even on Facebook, you see this all the time. People say, right, I'm ready for the next stage now.
Yeah,
I think I'm ready.
It takes time, and I mean, in the grand scheme of things, we're still a very, very new industry, and it's moving so quickly that things are being accepted much, much quicker. So the general public are accepting the likes of egos and stuff as being quite normal now. So the next stage is going to happen in time, that they're going to start seeing different looking e-cigs on a more regular basis. And if the media move on from the cigarette pictures and things like that, and things become a bit more mainstream, then they will feel more comfortable walking into a shop and wanting something that they've become familiar with, they've seen.
It's weird, isn't it, when you think about it? What we're actually talking about here is the normalization of the use of e-cigs, PVs, call them what the hell you like, but we're actually talking about the process of making the use of something that's really effective much more normal in everybody's mind. And you know for a certain fact that the likes of Glantz and Chapman and McKee and various others would oppose that with every last breath they had in their body. But yet it's what actually needs to happen, isn't it? We need to get to the situation where little Johnny and Jenny, grown up from being 2 or 3 years old, are used to seeing people with e-cigs rather than cigarettes if we take all of the propaganda and everything at face value, so that they know they've got a choice. They know that as they grow older, they can have their first espresso and probably their first vape at the same time, and neither of them is going to do them any harm at all, really. I mean, why do you think are so many people so ideologically opposed to e-cigs when they're not ideologically opposed to a really nice Italian coffee? Or is that too wide a subject to go through in 4 or 5 minutes?
It's a tough one, but I think the simple answer is because they drink the nice Italian coffee.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
they weren't smokers.
And it's hard.
This is my drug, so it's not a drug. It's fine.
I
Safe.
suppose if I had never ever smoked, and obviously as a result of it never vaped, would my way of thinking be completely different to that it is now? I think it's an important question that I've never really asked myself. You know, what if I had never smoked, therefore never vaped? What would my interpretation of thinking be, and would it be completely different to the way it is?
Well, without being on the inside of the argument, it's really hard, and you get frustrated that Joe Public doesn't understand where you're coming from. But why would he? Why should he? Because we've had to learn all this by being on the inside and finding it out ourselves. And the guy out on the street didn't really care. So trying to make people understand the whole side of it, it's a real uphill battle in a way. And do we need to do it or do we not? I don't know. I'm now confused myself.
It's very difficult because the guy on the street's not the problem. It's the people with vested interest are the problem.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are putting all the propaganda out there, not the guy on the street. He's turning around and saying, well, who's right? They're telling me that this is 10 times worse than smoking, and you're telling me it's not. And we don't have the answers, really.
That actually is the nub of the problem, isn't it? I know it's kind of characterised as lies coming from the other side. I'm pretty sure that they don't think they're lying. I think they're the kind of person that would wear 5 condoms, make sure she was on the pill, and make sure she was wearing a lady condom as well, and would probably end up not actually doing it anyway, just in case they caught something nasty. They're that hyper cautious. And I've never understood that. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, life's for living and risks are for taking, and you do everything with information. The example I usually give is these wingsuit things that you see fellas jumping off mountains and gliding around the place like flying squirrels. I know for a certain fact that there's no ripstop nylon in the world heavy enough to stop a 20-stone fat freak like me from plummeting to his death when jumping off a mountain. Ergo, I've done the risk assessment and said, no, I'm not going to try it. Aside from which, I'm shit scared of heights. But when it comes to e-cigs, we've got like this last formaldehyde gate 2, where they have actually gone beyond the realms of reasonableness, I feel. They haven't done what they should have done. They haven't used the knowledge that is out there. And let's face it, even just in this room tonight that we've got of 100 people all sat together chewing the fat and typing stuff in, there's more knowledge about e-cigs in this chat than there is anywhere close to Portland, Oregon, patently so, certainly in academic circles. And they just don't realise that actually we're reasonable people. And we have information, and we can help, and we want to help.
Yeah, because I mean, you used the words there, risk assessment, and it's a word that, or 2 words that we've had bandied about more and more over the last 10 years in every aspect of your life, from your kid falling down at school, do a risk assessment before you pick them up, and whatever. But we do risk assessments on a daily basis in our own heads all the time. You look at something and you go, oh, right, that's on the cooker. The handle's over the hot bit. Should I touch it or should I not? And you do your own risk assessment in your head. We've been doing them for years, all the time. And it's got to the point now where it's like, right, we'll take that ability away from you. Don't worry, we'll do all the risk assessments for you and we'll protect you and tell you what you're allowed to say, think, do, touch, have, not have. And it's just getting to the point where it's ridiculous. As you say, we do have the knowledge. I'm constantly amazed by some of the stuff that I read coming from our chat. And you think, if they would just talk to these people and hear what they have to say, we're perfectly capable of doing our own risk assessment on what I've done it with what I eat, what I drink, all my life, and I'm perfectly capable of doing it now. They just listen to her.
And Neil Ross just typed in, a couple of us changed a doctor's opinion today on Twitter. And do you know something? I'm seeing that happening a lot more. I think as the ants become more and more outrageous in their inability to tell the whole story, I'm choosing my words very carefully here, I think they're being caught out by more and more reasonable people. And it heartens me when I see, and I followed the chat that was going on, I should have mentioned it earlier, when I see a doctor who comes in all guns blazing, e-cigs are terrible for you, 15 times worse than smoking fags, you know, worse than shooting yourself in the head, and all of this kind of crap that you see trotted out by, and I'm not going to mention their names, I'm not going to give them the oxygen of publicity. And you see calm information being given across by people with experience, people who are using e-cigs, people who know what they're talking about because they're doing it every day. And you see minds being changed, you see stances being shifted, you see people realising that actually, hang on, I was told these people were a set of trolls. They're not. They are real folks, they do know what they're talking about, they are sincere and earnest, and I need to listen to them, and I just hope that spreads an awful lot further.
Well, it's like something that was mentioned in that article that we were looking at earlier about people coming at this argument from a moralistic point of view. You just can't do that. The whole thing's got nothing to do with morals, and there are so many that can't. It gets back to the not being able to separate the tobacco from the nicotine thing, and we need to be in a nicotine-free world. And as you say, it's lovely to see that some are now actually starting to listen, because we're not monsters. We're not going out there to try and hurt people. We just want people to listen.
That's probably a good point to start drawing the show to a close, because it's nearly 10:05.
Is it?
I could sit and chat like this all night. Daz, you were gonna wade in there. Come on.
No, I mean, you know, just on what everybody's been saying, you know, I completely agree. Like, I think that we've been doing a fantastic job. I think that in the 2.5 years, well, 3 years that I've been vaping, 2.5 years that I've been following with the fight, so to speak, we have come a long way. I often say, you know, we need to give ourselves a pat on the back. You know, I've learned a lot in not just about vaping. I've learned how we move mountains and how mountains can be moved. You know, I've watched a TPD going from, you know, going down the route of medicinalization to completely, you know, nigh on obliterating it, and the fight still goes on. I've, you know, learned a lot, and it's good to see, and I hope to see a lot more people come on board and this carry on going a lot further.
Too right.
Yeah.
Chris? Kat?
Well, my thoughts are quite simply this, that 6 years almost now in March. So we and those that have been vaping longer than us, and there will be quite a few of them, are our own guinea pigs, if you like. We're all still sitting here and we're proving day by day that what we've been preaching is correct. And we just need to carry on doing what we're doing. Let's face it, we're beyond the halfway point in the research, as far as I'm concerned, because here we are 6 years. And I can't sort of say I've got anything health-wise related, poorly related to e-cigs. I haven't got anything. But there you go. This is just something that will take time, and we'll get there. We'll win this fight. We will win it.
Yes.
So, there you go.
Yes, and I think we will. It's going to be a long, hard uphill battle, but I, for one, will not rest until we are victorious. And I think I'm speaking for everybody on the VTTV team when I say that, am I?
Oh,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So there you go. I think we probably need to draw it to a close tonight. Yet again, apologies on behalf of Dave, but he really is crook. I believe that's an Australian phrase that means not very well. He is poorly bad in bed with a shawl on both feet and one sock. And Dave, hurry up and get well soon, mate, because you badly missed by an awful lot of people. I want to say thank you to everybody in chat for watching tonight, and those of you that watch video on demand. I hope you found it useful. It was basically 4 northeastern folks having a bit of a chat about nout, really, except the nout is e-cigs, and e-cigs are probably the most important thing to hit public health in the last 10 decades that I can think of. It's been a great pleasure to spend the last hour with you, and I'm going to sign off like I usually sign off, having said thank you to Sav, Daz and Kat. Thanks for joining us tonight, lads and lasses, because I love these shows.
Kat?
I just wish I knew how you could take this whole hangout thing and put everybody side to side, because there would be 4 corners, and we could all say it together. Vape on! Vape hard, and don't let the bastards grind you down. Till the next time we see you from Dave's Tacklebox, because that's what this has been. Allegedly. Take care of each other, and don't forget to tune in for the rest of the shows that are on at 9 o'clock every night this week up until Thursday, and our i4 radio thereafter. Till we see you next time, take care of each other. Bye bye.
Bye.
You have been watching Dave's Tacklebox.